Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome to Songwriting Simplified on this 23rd day of July. Good grief, we are absolutely racing through the year and we are heading towards winter and jumpers and hoodies and fleeces and woolly hats and scarves and ice and snow and stuff like that. And short days and long nights. Just thought I'd cheer everybody up with that. No, no, let's just remember we are actually in midsummer. This is technically what they call midsummer. Before we head into August. When we get into August, I think from like the second week of August, it is officially autumn, as we call it here in the UK, which is what normal people call it. You guys in the United States call it fall, which is weird, but I understand it because essentially the leaves fall off trees. However, not all trees, only non-deciduous trees, right? Evergreens, they don't drop their leaves. Deciduous trees do. So, yeah, so I guess that's kind of why you call it fall, I suppose, because the leaves fall to the ground, and that kind of indicates that it's that time of year. It's just interesting. We call it autumn for slightly more poetic and maybe even slightly more political reasons why we call it autumn. Just like we called the month August because it was named after the Roman Emperor Augustus. He decided to name a month after himself. Although technically I think it was named in his honor and he just went, yeah, okay then. Because he was not at all a narcissist. At all, in a sense of the word. But yes, there we go. Random trivia to start the show with that is not related to songwriting whatsoever. But however, please do connect those things together and form it into a nice little Nashville country tune with the train beat. That would be very cool if somebody could actually do that, and then we could play it on a show, on a Songwriting Simplified show, where you have just taken random shit that I have said at the start of a show, connected it together, turned it into a Nashville country song. That would be awesome. So if somebody could step forward and volunteer to do that, that would be great. Just drop me an email and let me know. So there we go. Weird intro. Sorry about that. But hey, it has been hot as heck. But today I have not had my fan on. I recently had installed a nice little ceiling fan, which basically connects itself into the light socket. And the light is on above my head, but the fan is not on for the first time in about 3 days. Because it's just actually been relatively cool in here. The temperature inside this room has not gone above 30 degrees Celsius, which is nice. That's kind of, I can handle that. But prior to that, it was like, I think the hottest day in here, it was 48 degrees Celsius in here. And even with the roof fan on and 2 other fans, I had one over here pointed at me. I had fans pointed at my gear to stop it exploding. It was still like unbearable. I think I changed t-shirts maybe 3 times and went and had a cold shower almost every 2 hours because it was that hot in here. But we survived. So that's good. Now, it is 97 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit, which is where just Bob is. I'd be very concerned if it was 97 degrees Celsius, because that would be 3 degrees short of boiling point. And Kyle says we can see the light reflected off your shiny head. Yes, unfortunately, since I have no hair on the top of my head, it does have this strange ability to reflect, so we can do something about that. There we go. I can just turn it off. I can also turn it on. I think maybe we get a little bit more fill light-wise with it on compared to with it off. I don't know. If you guys think it adds something in terms of lighting rather than just making my head shine like I have some kind of halo, then please do let me know. At the moment, I have switched it off, but I can put it back on. So if you guys think that I should switch it off, just say, turn it off, and I'll turn it off. It's cool. All right, so let's go see who is here. We do have a question which comes from Dwayne, which is, related to Studio One Pro Plus, which is kind of songwriting related. So we'll take that question in just a moment. We got 13 people here. It'd be nice if we had a few more. Billy Morgan was in first in the door, as usual, followed 4 minutes later by none other than resident composer extraordinaire and waterman, Rich Cresswell. He is here. Rich, I hope you're doing well, buddy. Tony Stringer is here as well. Dwayne, who I've just mentioned, is here. Kyle Jadrusiak, who I've also mentioned, is here. Bobby Booth is here. Keith from Radio Tuck Trumpet is here as well. We got Don Oliver here. And we got some trivia from Kyle, which I will also get to in just a minute. We got Just Bob. And I think I have almost reached the bottom here. Harley Bob is here as well. Awesome. Billy Morgan says 94 feels like 109 in Paradise, aka Gonzales, Louisiana. Wow. And inside it is a comfortable 60, I think that's right. I think that's what you've just said there. Not entirely sure that is what you said, but anyway. All right, so let us take Dwayne's question. Now, if you have a question and you're new here and you're just passively watching and you want to get involved, then please do hit the subscribe button. Select that all notifications button as well. And then after 2 minutes, the chat will be open to you and you can join in. At the moment, it's in subscriber mode only. And every show is in subscriber mode only for the simple reason that when it was just open for anybody, we had some folks who liked to spam us with porno. And so, although you have to be a moderator to post links, because I changed that in light of some of the things that were being said, I then decided to put it in subscriber mode only to keep this nice little community safe, which is really important to me, that you guys feel safe here and don't feel like there are any weirdos who could be here to do harm and just upset things. So that is why I did that. So if you are watching and you'd like to be involved, then please do subscribe. And after 2 minutes, the chat will be opened up to you and you can contribute. If you want to ask a question, please do what Dwayne did and type at Jonny Lipsham Studios at the start of your question. All that does is just highlight for me my name in red, and that makes it very easy for me to pick out your questions. So please do that. And yes, I said do, because do is funny and I like it because I'm not very mature. All right, so let's tackle Dwayne's question. This is actually really quite easy to answer, but it's also quite easy to misunderstand. I'm just going to straighten up my chair a second. Hang on. And I just smacked my head into the mic. Well done, Lipsham. All right, so Dwayne's question is, Pro Plus users, that's Studio One Pro Plus members, have a new 2,500 splice sounds, question mark. Does that total 5,000 now or still 2,500 but new? You are correct. It is 2,500 still, but it is 2,500 new. Basically what they do is the curated 2,500 sounds I think it's every month, or is it every quarter? I'm not entirely sure whether it's every month or every quarter. But either way, periodically what they do is they refresh those sounds. So you just basically get a new set of 2,500 curated sounds. Now, does that mean that the ones you have used are not usable anymore? No, they're fine. Because when you drag one of those included sounds into your song, they basically get baked into the song. as if you recorded it yourself. Now, the whole thing with copying external files still applies. Make sure that you are still doing that you have that box checked, or that you right-click the pool and you copy external files that way periodically. Either way, it doesn't really matter, just as long as you are doing that regularly so that anything that is used in the song can be saved, copied to the media folder, and when that happens, everything is protected. Even if loop libraries are discontinued or removed, or splice sounds are removed for whatever reason, you've always got them in the media folder and they are there protected, safe and secure forever in that song. So bear that in mind. So yeah, that's how it works. Now, do you need to subscribe to Splice to get those 2,500 sounds? No, you do not. You don't. You can basically just create a free splice.com account and then you link it to Studio One. Gregor did a great little video on that just recently. Go and watch that, and watch that section where he links the Splice browser tab to splice.com, and make sure you follow that carefully to make sure that you get that right. Once you've done that, it should stick. Occasionally tokens do expire, and by tokens I mean authentication tokens. And when that happens, all you have to do is just follow that little procedure a second time. You just sign into Splice and you link the browser tab, and everything will be good to go. I have to do this once in a while because the token has expired, and it's fine when that happens. That's perfectly normal. That's just a security measure to make sure that nobody is nefariously using Splice and abusing the system. So that's all that is. After a period of time, that little authentication token just gets deleted off your computer, and then you have to sign in again and link Studio One with your Splice account, and job done. And it literally takes 10 seconds. And it's 10 seconds every maybe 30 days, or 10 seconds every 2 or 3 months. It's nothing major. So just be on your toes about that, because if you see that happen, you go, oh, the Splice is not signed in Studio One. What's wrong with that? Is it broken? Is there a bug? No, it's not broken. There's no bug. It's just the authentication token has expired. You just need to renew it, and that's the method by which you do that. So unfortunately, I've done that recently, so I can't actually show you how to do that because the token is on my computer. I can't do it until that token expires, basically. So I can't show you right now. But watch Gregor's video and it will work for you as well. And then you will find that there's this nice little button that has the Studio One logo on it, and it just says included. When you click on that, it basically only shows you stuff that's included. And what you'll find is that on every entry in the Splice browser tab, you'll see that it's got a little, underneath each entry, it's got the word included, which basically that's just a tag on that to show you that it is included with the Studio One 2,500 sounds, okay? Anything that doesn't have the included tag on it is therefore not included. So if you already have a Splice subscription plan, like I do, because I personally think it's worth the £12 a month, really, because you get access to, I think it's nearly 4.5 million sounds. And that includes Foley sounds as well, like sound effects. Like, for example, the last challenge, the last songwriting challenge that I did, which was for Halloween last year, back in November, for that Halloween, I wrote a piece called Bagpipe Murder. Where did I get the stabby sounds from? Where did I get the thunderstorm from? Where did I get the footsteps from? Where did I get the bagpipe sound from? Because I don't play bagpipes. I got them all from Splice. So that's where I got all of those sounds from. I got them all from the cinematic effects library within Splice, and I just drag and drop them into Studio One, and they work perfectly. And like I said, they are there ad infinitum. So even if I went and opened up that song right now, which I'm going to, seeing as it's been a while, it's been what, 5 months since I last had this song open. It's just going to take a little bit of time to open up all the samples, but I can show you that they are all here. Let's turn off the mixer. Now I'll scroll down. So all of these purple channels here, these are all the sound effects. And right at the beginning there's the bagpipes, but there's the thunderstorm and rain ambience, which comes from a field recording in Tennessee. And then I've got a couple of baby laughing sound effects. And then I've got some footsteps. The only thing that's not is this sinister laugh thing here. I did that at the end. This is me. All the rest is not. All the rest is spliced, but that one's just me. But they are really, really high quality sounds. So if I was just to let's go over to the special effects bus and we'll solo that. We'll turn the mixer off. So now all of these are soloed and I can just play from the beginning. You'll hear the bagpipes and everything, and just the sound effects. Why is that not playing? Try that again. There we got the thunderstorm and the footsteps on wet. This is footsteps on cement. And that's a baby laugh with a baby laugh pitched down 2 octaves as well. And then this thunderstorm keeps on going all the way through, and then you get to the end here. We've got a howling wolf. So yeah, that's how I did that. I got all of these from splice.com. From the Splice browser tab, I should say. So over here, give it a second to load in. Oh, it has logged me out. Oh well. So yeah. So you can hit this try free button. I already have an account. I'm not going to do that just now though. Let's go back and see Insta 1. There we go. There we go. So I basically didn't want to show you my credentials. That's what I was trying to avoid showing you. With video editing, I could do that. Doing it on live stream, not quite so easy. But if I go back to the main screen, see now that I've signed in, the try free button has gone. And now it shows me how many credits that I have. These are for because I have this Splice subscription, I can download a certain number of I get credits every month, and then I can put those towards downloading some other stuff every month, like MIDI packs and things like that. I'm not interested in MIDI packs, which is why this is now standing at nearly 1,500 credits. And it will just keep filling up and filling up and filling up. But there you go. And so if you click on cinematic effects here, there's weather, which is where I got the thunderstorm from. And then there's all sorts of other ones like body sounds. There's gore. That's where I got the stabby sounds from. And then there's various fighting sounds. There's all sorts of stuff in here. Plus, there's also some surround sound stuff as well. So if you are working in an Atmos session, for example, or in a surround sound session in Studio One, you can use these ones as well. So there you go. Right. Left, up, and down. Let's close that out. Let's go back over here. Okay, let's get to Kyle's little piece of trivia. The word song originates from Old English sang, which itself stems from the Proto-Germanic sangvads, meaning singing song. This in turn traces back to the Proto-Indo-European root seng. There we go. We have all just learned something very, very cool about the word song and where that comes from. So the next time somebody asks, why does a song have a beginning and an end? There's your answer right there. It's because it goes back to Proto-Indo-European, which, by the way, we're talking back, way back, probably to, the same time as the Ming dynasty, the Ming Chinese dynasty, probably around about the same kind of time as the second dynastic period of the Egyptian history. Probably around about the same kind of time historically as when the Proto-Indo-European root language was being spoken. Let's see. Yes. Tony Stringer reminds everybody that Ozzy Osbourne has died just recently. Yes, he died just a couple of days ago. The guy was a pioneer. I'm not a fan. I'm a jazz guy. I'm not a metal guy. Like I said before, I have played in a metal band. I played maybe 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 gigs with a metal band. And the guys in this metal band were actually all jazz trained. They were all jazz guys. They were into Coltrane and Pharoah Sanders and freeform jazz and that kind of stuff. But to make money, to make a living, they played metal. They played Black Sabbath stuff. And so I did play some of Ozzy's songs. I don't remember any of them particularly, but I did play some of his songs. And yes, the guy was a pioneer in the heavy metal movement and developed that genre, took it a long, long way, and so blazed quite the trail. And actually, from pretty much everything that I have heard said about him, not just because he's died. You know, when people die, people say nice things about the person that's died. But, you know, just whenever I've heard him being talked about by anybody, by musicians, by people in the media, they've always said that Ozzy was a really nice guy, like really down to earth, a guy that you could basically just roll up at the bar to after a gig and have a pint with and talk with. He was a proper down to earth brummie. He never forgot his Birmingham roots. Even when he spent all those years in the United States, he never forgot who he was. He never forgot that he was an Englishman. He never forgot that he was from Birmingham, and he loved his hometown, his home city. Never forgot his roots. Never forgot his working class roots. And good on him for not forgetting who he is and where he came from. And, you know, he was just a humble, down to earth kind of guy, really nice guy. A lot of people said really good things about him as a person, as well as a musician. So, yeah, it's sad. It's sad that he had Parkinson's, and it seems he had maybe 2 or 3 other health things going on at the same time that may have been aggravated by his Parkinson's. Not really sure, but, yeah, very sad, that he has just died. And not that old either. All right, let's go and see. Okay, Just Bob's got a question here. With AI being used as a tool to inspire to create a song, if you borrow the melody but change the key or chord changes, or a chord or two, is that still considered AI platform created? Well, if the initial genesis of the idea the pun is not intended when I say Genesis. I mean Genesis in the proper Aramaic meaning of the word, which means creation. You know, with the genesis of a song starting with, exploring different things with AI. Maybe you give AI a bunch of lyrics or just an idea of a narrative that you've got in your head, and maybe you've got a style of music in your mind, and you just toss those two ideas out into AI and say, hey, what can you come up with? And it comes up with something. Maybe there are elements of it that you do like. Maybe there's a lot of it that you don't like. I mean, AI is not going to be perfect because AI is, for the most part, it is generative. If I understand it correctly, it basically uses what it can research and what it can find very, very quickly and throw something together that makes sense. Now, whether it is kind of what you're after or not is another question, because particularly with creative arts, it might not be kind of what you're after, but maybe it comes up with a really good melody that you like. And maybe you decide, hey, I'm going to take that melody and I'm just going to build something around that melody that AI created. You could say that AI wrote your melody. That does throw up all kinds of potential copyright issues. I mean, we're in uncharted waters when it comes to that, really. What role does AI play in the creation of your song, and therefore what credit should it get when you publish the work? Because if it created a melody and you like that melody and you build your work around that melody that it created, it essentially wrote the melody for your song. And so you got to bear in mind, currently under current copyright law internationally, the two main elements subject to copyright are melody and lyrics. And then counter melody can also be subject to copyright if it is deemed to be signature to the song, i.e. it becomes an identifying characteristic for that song. I'm not a lawyer, so I may not be using the correct legal terminologies or the correct legal language here, but my understanding is a counter melody, such as a secondary melody on a saxophone, for example. I don't know that this is the case with Dire Straits' Your Latest Trick, the interlude played by Michael Brecker on the tenor saxophone. I believe he did not write that melody. That melody was written by Mark Knopfler for Michael to play, and Michael basically embellished it a little bit with some grace notes and some scoops and slurs, but essentially it is Mark's melody. So Michael doesn't get copyright claim because he was playing a melody that was written for him. So slightly different scenario. However, had he basically just played something that Mark liked when they were recording the song, and he said, hey, that's a really good little hook, can you just play that every time the interlude comes around? But then when the song was published, if Mark had basically not credited Michael with that melody for the interlude, which is basically a hook for the song, he could have sued, and he probably would have won under current copyright legislation. So going back to AI, if you take a melody that AI has written for you as the basis for your song, then technically under current law, you should credit the AI software with your melody, and you should split. There should be what they call a split, which is basically where royalties are split between you and co-composers, or between you, the arranger, and the producer, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of how it stands at the moment. But, you know, with AI being pretty new, we're still kind of in legally uncharted waters. So currently, you might get away with an AI melody that you can still take credit for. But it's a little up in the air. We're going to have to see kind of legally where that all ends up, which will probably happen in the next couple of years, because all of this stuff is making its way through the Supreme Court in the United States. It's also making its way through the Supreme Court here in the UK, and also in the international copyright law, copyright courts as well, under international law as well. It's making its way through various legal courts internationally to make sure that, you know, copyright is protected, and authors are therefore protected, even if that author turns out to be software. Meaning if you re-record with real musicians. Yeah, if you take an idea that's generated by AI, but you replace everything with real musicians, then it could be argued that the real musicians are still playing an AI-generated arrangement. So there, like I said, we're in uncharted waters. So it's actually legally very hard to figure out who is going to own what if you're using AI. So it's a bit of a minefield right now. With AI, that's my concern. The platforms boost use as an inspiration, but where does it end and your creativity begin? Yeah, that's a great question. Carl says your meetup is not listed on the main Personas event page. Yes, I know that. I'm aware of that, and Gregor is aware of that too. That will be changed. Basically, they get changed overnight tonight, so it will go up there. And my meetup is this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, noon Mountain. 1 p.m. Mountain and 12 p.m. So that's noon Pacific, which is also 8 p.m. UK time, by the way, and 9 p.m. Central Europe time, and it's going to be early hours of the morning for the good folks over in Australia and New Zealand. Let's see. Where does using an AI platform as inspiration, but where does it end and your creativity begin? Your creativity begins with whatever you do with what gets spat out at you by AI. Like I said, if you take the melody that it has suggested verbatim and you do not change it at all, then it could definitely be legally argued that AI owns the copyright to your melody, and therefore you would have to do a split with the AI platform. But like I said, some of this legislation may well change. So in the meantime, I would suggest, if it does suggest a melody to you, do something with that. Do something creative with that melody. You know, maybe do some retrograde inversion. What is retrograde inversion? Play it upside down and backwards. Flip it and play it backwards. And see if you like the melody still. Billy says, if I create a chord progression using Harmony Wizard, should I credit Lucas? No. The reason being is chord changes are not subject to copyright. They are not. So you can use Harmony Wizard to create all the chord changes you like. And Lucas does not need any credit at all. And you don't need to give him any splits either, because chord changes are not subject to copyright. There have been various attempts to make chord changes subject to copyright. However, the big legal complication with that is, as soon as you get down into that kind of musicological issue, is that you could end up with somebody actually owning the rights to the key of C major. And when that happens, that person can own any piece of music that has ever been written in the key of C major and ever will be written in the key of C major. And therefore, they will get splits for that. So just by owning the key of C major, you can make yourself ridiculously wealthy, because we're talking about works by Handel, Mozart, Beethoven, Shostakovich, Tchaikovsky, as well as modern composers, 19th century composers, Ravel, Debussy, all of those people, Holst, John Williams, all sorts of composers have written stuff in C major. And so if somebody actually owns C major, there's a big problem. And this is why every attempt to legally make chord changes subject to copyright, it's fallen flat on its face. It never goes anywhere, because people then start getting into this quagmire of, well, somebody could end up owning either a chord or owning a key signature. And then if one person owns a key signature, then somebody's just going to own all 12 major keys, all 12 minor keys, and in the major minor tonal system. And then somebody's going to go and grab all the minor modes, then somebody's going to grab all the major modes, and then somebody's going to go and grab all the talas and ragas of Indian classical music. And then, see what I mean? It's a massive minefield. Legally, it sets all kind of unpleasant precedents, and it's, yes, people will make a massive ton of money out of it, but only a few will make a massive ton of money out of it. And that's the people that own all the stuff that I have just mentioned. Now, obviously, that is all a worst case scenario. And this is why legally it's never been done. There have been people that have tried to, like, for example, the estate of George and Ira Gershwin, the Gershwin brothers, who wrote I Got Rhythm, right? Those chord changes have been used in thousands of songs, literally thousands of songs. Not just the chord changes, but the form of the song as well, the AABA 32-bar song form, as well as those chord changes, have been used in thousands of songs. From the Flintstones theme, the Muppet Show theme, all the way through to a whole host of bebop tunes, such as Anthropology and Burke's Works, and a whole bunch of other bebop songs, 52nd Street theme. There's a ton of Miles Davis songs that all have the same set of chord changes. And, you know, pretty much when you go to university to study jazz, that's the first thing you learn, is the I Got Rhythm chord changes, and you learn how to improvise on those. And you learn how to basically develop your own melodies on top of those chord changes, not just improvising, but actually developing a melody. So if chords became subject of copyright, then everybody's in trouble and music will die. Pretty much. Keith says, don't play it backwards. You may summon Ozzy and he needs to settle in. Yeah, he needs to, you know, put his futon out, put his easy chair into place, and then get his coffee machine running, for sure. And Dave, Bob's NY is here. And he says, then we go microtune. Yeah, well, that's just not going to happen, because then you'd have to say that somebody owns frequencies. That's not going to happen. All right, so we have 20 minutes left. So if somebody else has another question or a couple of other questions, I will take those as well. Let's see. But whilst we're talking about Harmony Wizard is fecking awesome, by the way. Unfortunately, Lucas is not here, but I do need to try and get him on the show to basically talk about Harmony Wizard, because it's really, really great. And he has added to it quite a bit since its initial launch. So it is basically an extension in Studio One, but it is not made by PreSonus. It is made by Lucas. PreSonus don't have anything to do with it whatsoever. So if you find that you are having issues with aspects of Harmony Wizard, reach out to Lucas. Don't make a technical support ticket to PreSonus, because they will just tell you to reach out to Lucas, because it's Lucas's script, basically. Lucas wrote a bunch of scripts that got packaged together to become Harmony Wizard, that is essentially an extension to Studio One. So it's his product and it's his thing. So if you have an issue, reach out to Lucas. Don't reach out to PreSonus Tech Support. They'll tell you to go to Lucas. Dave owns C#. C# minor these days. That's funny. Just Bob says that would be a great show. What would be a great show, Bob? Please do tell. What would be a great show? Playing Ozzy Osbourne songs backwards and see if we get a copyright strike? Yeah, that's not a great idea. I have a friend of mine, actually, who tested that theory and did just that. It wasn't Ozzy Osbourne. I think it was Michael Jackson. I think he did a Michael Jackson song where he basically took the song. Now, he didn't just literally take the Michael Jackson song and play it backwards by reversing it in Studio One or something like that. He literally did a rearrangement of what I think it was. What song was it? Oh, it's what song was it? I'm trying to remember which Michael Jackson song it was. Oh, it was Thriller. That's right. It was Thriller. And he got a bunch of musicians to basically do his rearrangement of it, where they literally did it backwards. So they recorded it normally, like you would normally record any music, but they literally played it backwards. So all the melody was backwards. All the words were backwards. He had to learn how to sing the lyrics backwards. And the backing vocalist had to learn how to do the backing vocals backwards. Everything was backwards. And then he mixed it, mastered it, put it up onto his YouTube channel. And guess what? Within 20 minutes, he got a takedown notice. Yeah. Unfortunately, it did not get past the YouTube copyright AI algorithm, sadly. But it was a damn good effort. It was a well-worthy experiment. Let's just say that. Oh, having Lucas on show. Yes, I agree. Having Lucas on the show would be fantastic. For a variety of reasons, not just to talk about Harmony Wizard as a composing and arranging tool, but to actually talk about what he does as a composer and arranger, because he is a terrific composer and arranger, and he is a hell of a piano player. He really is one heck of a piano player. So he's pretty much my compatriot, really. He's, we're both composers, we're both arrangers. He is by far a better piano player than I am. He has a much broader palette of chops at the piano because he actually had piano lessons. I just listened to Thelonious Monk records and McCoy Tyner and tried to play what I heard them doing. And that's kind of how I ended up with the piano style that I have. No piano lessons at all. Dave says, I would suggest Beaker from the Muppets. He could sing that backwards. Well, yeah, it wouldn't be hard because he has one sound that he makes. Beaker was hilarious, though. One of my favorite Muppets characters. By a long way. All right, I don't see that we are getting any more questions, so this could end up being a short show because we are only 46 minutes into the show, so we've got 14 minutes left. If we don't have any more questions, I will wrap this for sure. But yeah, some great questions tonight. We've talked about AI, and we've talked about Splice. Splice is fantastic. I mean, I pointed out, the cinematic effects aspect of it, but I've made tunes using Splice, where let me see if I can find my little Splice funk thing that I put together. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. Which I'll just show you kind of what that is all about. Let's close up the mixer. It's basically just an 8-bar loop, and everything came from, apart from the Rhodes here, everything came from Splice. The Rhodes is me, but everything else here came from Splice. All right, and that's basically all there is to it. It's just a little groove that I put together, basically just demonstrating how you can just chuck things together using splice loops. Now, the secret with Splice, just like anything else loop-wise and AI generated, take these things and do your own thing with it if you want to avoid any kind of copyright issues, either content ID things on YouTube. I can't remember the exact word. Content ID issues on YouTube. By the way, those are easy to deal with. I have to deal with those reasonably regularly. Some of them are damn stupid. Like, I did a show maybe about a year or so ago where basically all I did was just drag and drop a drum loop in from one of my loops libraries and dropped it into a song just to demonstrate how you do that. And then I played the drum loop. That was my mistake. I played the damn drum loop and I got a content ID strike for that. And basically, had I been monetizing my channel, which I don't anymore, I would have had to share the monetizing. In fact, I would get none of the monetizing. The person who they claimed owned that would get the monetizing and I would get nothing. However, here's the thing. This was just a drum loop from a loop library that I have. And clearly what had happened was that same drum loop had been used in another song elsewhere. And YouTube basically did the least logical thing it can do and basically put 2 and 2 together and made 7 and said, drum loop here, sounds the same, therefore is the same. Therefore is the same song. It's not. It's a drum loop. Drum loops are not subject to copyright. They never have been, they never will. And so that's how I dealt with that with YouTube. I basically responded to the copyright thing and basically said, you can't content ID a drum loop because only melody and lyrics are subject to content. You can't do that with just a drum loop. And they dropped it. And so I get these reasonably regularly because of the nature of this show. If I do anything with loops, if I do anything with Splice or anything like that, got to be careful how I do it, because if I do it wrongly, I will get one of those content ID things, and then I will have to spend the time filling out the little content ID dispute form where I will say, stop being stupid. This is not subject to copyright. And then they just drop it. But what that means is for somebody like me, if I was monetizing my channel like I used to, I would have lost out on all the revenue from that video, from that live stream. I would. Including, by the way, the darn super chats. That was what really got my goat, was the fact that super chats would go to somebody else. They wouldn't come to me. That got my goat. And that was one of the reasons why I demonetized my channel, because I was just like, that's just stupid. So I didn't really want to have to be doing with that anymore, so I just demonetized my channel. And so now nobody gets any of the money. So it is what it is. So what am I trying to say here from my slightly irritated soapbox? What I'm trying to say is, if you are going to be using anything that's AI generated, anything that comes from loop libraries, sample libraries, don't use them vanilla, okay? Don't just take them, drag them into a song, push up the faders, export it, and call it done. You can't do that. Because you will get content ID strikes, you will get copyright strikes, and you will get people coming after you legally. It's not just going to be a platform that deplatforms you or demonetizes you or prevents you from selling your song. Or even worse, they just take down your channel, or they take down your SoundCloud or your Bandcamp page or whatever it is when you get copyright challenges. So you don't want that. If you're a composer, if you're a songwriter, if you're an arranger, you don't want that to happen. So do your own thing with anything AI, anything loop-based, anything that's already pre-composed that you bring into your song. Do something with it. Be creative with those things. Make them sound different. And then the algorithms in the world won't come back at you and say, that's not yours. Which is essentially what a content ID challenge is. Basically, it's just saying, hey, I don't think that's yours. I don't think that's your music. I think that's somebody else's and you're trying to pass it off as yours. So that's essentially what it is. So be very careful. Even if you are legitimately using loops to make legitimate music like I am here. Now, all of these samples, all of these loops, they're all just drag and dropped in vanilla. I've not touched any of those. So this show is probably going to get a nice little copyright challenge, which I'm not going to dispute, by the way. But if it does, so be it. No, I'm not going to dispute it. But what I should do with this is I should do my own thing with these loops. Change them, process them, do something with them, make them follow the chord track, make them do something that makes the algorithm go, this doesn't sound like anything that's in our system. And away you go. So I think that's the lesson to be learned here. You don't have to apologize for not having any more questions. If you don't have any more questions, it's cool. If you don't have any more questions, I am not objecting at all. Questions are good, but it's okay. Is it a good idea to use the transpose option to create harmonies, or would that end up creating artifacts and unnatural sound? If you do it right, it can sound great. Just be very careful how you do it. Remember, the more you stretch and compress an audio event, basically, in order to make it higher pitched, you're going to shorten it. In order to make it lower pitched, you're going to elongate it. This is what pitch shifting algorithms do, is they re-pitch the sound, and they will also play around with the formants as well. So be careful with that. The more something is stretched, the more artifacting you're going to get. The more something is compressed, the more artifacting you're going to get. So try and keep the intervals not too far away. So maximum the interval of a fifth. Anything above a fifth is going to start to sound weird. However, if you blend that with somebody actually also doubling that pitch as well, so somebody singing that, let's say you take a note and you copy it, you transpose it up a major sixth. On its own, that major sixth is the tone of that major sixth is going to sound weird because it will be artifacting like crazy. But if you double that with somebody actually singing that pitch, then it won't sound quite so weird because some of the artifacting will be masked by having somebody sing that note as well. So if you want to create like a bunch of harmony parts using pitch shifting around and transposing to create harmonies, that's great. But then, double those with somebody actually singing the same pitches as well. And that'll actually be quite easy to do. You can just solo the faked harmony part and then sing along with it. It's actually a really good way to build harmony parts, especially if you're doing like close barbershop style harmonies. A lot of the backing vocal harmonies that I do, they're kind of close backing, they're kind of close voiced barbershop style, saxophone section style voicings. Now, I'm aware I could use pitch shifting and transposing to create guide parts that I can then sing along to. I just never have done it that way. But you can do it that way. I just normally just sing. Because I can hear the pitch in my head and I can pitch it. The hard part is when the interval is close, like maybe a second or a flatted second away. Like a tone or a whole step or a half step away, where you've got intervals like this. Or, those are hard pitches to sing, right? So there's my low note, there's my harmony. Those are really hard to sing. And on their own, they sound weird. But if I put other notes, that can sound really cool when you get voices singing like that. So, though major six there, major six there, that's kind of G flat major, E flat major 7. That's kind of a kind of Holstein French horns kind of thing. But that's also a John Williams thing as well. But yeah, singing those two notes together is going to be hard to do. It is hard to do. I've done it. And so it's really hard because your voice naturally wants to sing the same damn note. And you have to train yourself not to. You have to go, no, this is my note, and I'm not going to be pulled down or pulled up to that note that I'm hearing. So it's difficult. It is difficult to do. But if you do it that way without creating the faked parts, personally for me, it sounds better. But if you're not versed in doing close harmony, then yes, use transposing to create the faked parts and then sing along with the fake parts. And then take away the fake parts and leaving the actual sung parts, and it'll sound great. It'll sound as if there are no fake parts. So it is a good way to do it. Pitch shift and real vocals would be a cool show. Studio trickery. Yeah, I could probably do something like that. Would you not keep in mind the clash of the meld of frequencies? No, semitones don't phase. I'm not quite sure where you're getting that from. They do vibrate against each other, but there's no like phase cancellation or anything like that. See, that's a minor third. That's a major third. And basically all intervals are basically balancing frequencies to some degree or other, but they don't kind of, you don't get phase cancellation or masking or anything like that with pitches. So semitones, yeah, they sound very close together because, you know, the fundamental tones are very close together. The overtones, yeah, they're actually not quite so close together, but, you know, the overtones are not quite so close together. But the fundamentals that are really strong, those are close together, which gives semitones that unique kind of bite to them. The peg backing vocals, yeah, the peg backing vocals the classic albums, the Asia classic albums episode, by the way, is really, really instructive because Michael McDonald, who basically sang all of those backing vocal parts, that's exactly how he did them. He basically sang a part and then sang the next part above that or below that, and so on, to create those particular harmonies, and they sound great. But yeah, the one thing he said was that when the parts were close together, challenging to sing, and it is challenging to sing, no question. But there was no kind of auto-tune or pitch correction or anything like that available to them back then, so that's exactly how they had to do it. He basically just had to sing it, and that's how I prefer to do it myself. However, you know, there's nothing wrong with creating guide parts, is what I'm trying to say. There's nothing wrong with creating guide parts at all. It's a legit technique. And with that, we are done. Show over. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, folks. You have been a fantastic wee crowd. So thanks a lot, everybody, for coming. For those of you that are not aware, on Friday at 8 p.m. UK time and 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon or lunchtime in the United States, or 9 o'clock in the evening in Central Europe, or breakfast time in Australia and New Zealand, we will be having the UK Studio One meetup on the Personas Zoom thing. And we will run it for as long as you guys want. It's supposed to run, I should say. Get my tenses correct. It's supposed to run for 2 hours, but more than likely it will run for longer than that. I have a fridge full of beer. I have 12 cans of beer in there right now. I don't intend to drink all of them, but I might. And so it could be fun. So stock up with your favorite beverage and we will talk Studio One, Personas products, the future of Studio One, the future of Personas products. Bear in mind, I can't tell anything. There's nothing for me to tell. But I would love to hear what you guys think. And, you know, features you'd like to see inside Studio One, and maybe even new hardware products, ideas that you've got. Just by way of example, talking about hardware products, the Faderport series, like the Faderport 8, Faderport 16, the concept for that, I should say, came from the Persona Studio One Facebook group. Somebody basically mocked up one of the old silver single fader ports, and in Photoshop they basically added a whole bunch of more faders, and the idea, the concept for the Faderport 8 and the Faderport 16 was born, and within 2-3 years they were launched and available to purchase, and they are by far two of the most popular PreSonus hardware products that we make by a long stretch. They are freaking awesome. But the idea was born by a couple of people who suggested it as an idea in the Facebook group. And so, likewise, if you've got a hardware product idea that has been rattling around in your head, suggest it. We can talk about it. Likewise, if you've got ideas for future features in Studio One, then please let us know about that. And we can talk about those as well. We can get as creative as you like. So that's Friday night. All the details are in the chat, posted by one of my moderators. The actual Zoom link and all of that will be available from presonus.com. And also, if you are in Studio One Pro Plus, just scroll down the homepage, you'll find it there. And I will post links to it pretty much everywhere as well. So keep an eye out on social media. Keep an eye out on Studio One Pro Plus. Also keep an eye out on the events page of presonus.com as well, because it will be posted there. Other than that, good night, everybody. See you Friday.